Ten, kažin, pirmoji pranešėja prisijungė, kuri paskui bus jau yra, ne? Gerai. O. Sveiki ir labas rytas. Sveiki visi.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone watching this YouTube presentation. Welcome from the Office of the President of the Republic of Lithuania. We can see that quite many of you are connected, more than 300. So hello, good morning, and I would like to congratulate you, to welcome you to the Lithuanian Librarians Association's International Conference. Dubingiai, Kiduliai, Plungė, Molėtai, Elektrėnai, Zarasai, Štatviliai, Vilkija, Konstantinava, Lithuanian cities and towns, Klaipėda, Panevėžys, Šakiai. So quite a lot of you are connected to the YouTube channel. We have two channels, Lithuanian and English, and translation into English is provided, and translation into Lithuanian is also provided. So, once again, hello to everyone. I will follow your chat. Please introduce yourself. Šilutė, Prienai, from wherever. So we will start our conference from welcome speeches. So, first of all, I would like to invite Dr. Jolanta Karpavičienė, Chief Advisor to the President. Good morning, dear participants of the conference. I have the honor to be with you and to read a welcome speech of the President of the Republic of Lithuania. Dear participants and listeners of the conference, I would like to congratulate you to this very important conference, and I'm very glad to follow the activity of the Lithuanian Library. And 20 years we've been counting a very meaningful initiative of the National Librarians Association. So the conference is being prepared during a very, very difficult period during the global pandemic. And of course, I want to highlight creativity, openness, dissemination of information, inspiration, all the activities which are ahead of our libraries. Today, we will seek to evaluate the changes our libraries have overcome. And I could highlight several trends. Libraries where they are and will be the places which will develop and have been developing the most important values of humanity. And we can also see from the time perspective, Lithuanian libraries have become more modern. They've taken into account the changes and contributed to the changes of the society and the state. participants of the education system, participants of the movement of libraries. They are all involved in the development of modern technologies, digitalization, dissemination of information, etc. But most importantly, I have to highlight the global communication, because there we have the most important connections, develop cultural heritage, and create the added civil value. By actively participating in civil cultural processes, the Librarian Society contributes to the development of the well-being of the state. And this is a very, very important contribution. In Lithuania, where social, economic, cultural values are very, very important. Thank you once again for your hard work in the sphere of cultural life, social life. And I would like to wish you a very interesting, fruitful conference, discussions, and together, I think, we will create a well-being of our state. President of the Republic of Lithuania, Gitanas Nausėda. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Jolanta Karpavičienė, for the welcome speech of our President. Thank you. You are so active in the YouTube channel. So many of you connected from different cities and towns, and now we have another welcome speech. President of IFLA, Christine McKenzie, and her speech from Melbourne.
Hello, dear colleagues.
Gerbiami kolegos.
I'm Christine McKenzie, President of IFLA, and I send greetings to you all from Melbourne, Australia. I'm very happy to participate in this Lithuanian Librarians Association International Conference with the theme, How Have We Changed in the Past 20 Years? I acknowledge the President of the Lithuanian Library Association, my friend Jolita Stepanatian, and all distinguished speakers, including my good friend and fellow IFLA Governing Board member, Tonya Arahova. These are indeed very challenging times we are living in, and I hope that you're all safe and staying well. I was so looking forward to being with you all in April as part of your conference, but of course that was not meant to be. What an interesting theme you've chosen for your conference. It is amazing how much things have changed over the past year, let alone 20 years. As I think back to the year 2000, we were working on a library website, which was the first for the library where I worked. There was some information online, but most of it was still print. E-book readers were very new, and the Frankfurt Book Fair in October 2000 hosted its inaugural e-book awards. There was no social media, and the first BlackBerry handheld device had just been released. We welcomed in the new millennium with some trepidation. Remember Y2K? Little did we know that 20 years on, a much more powerful bug would upturn our world. As we have lived the last 20 years, libraries have continued to do what they do best, providing equal and free access to information and knowledge, supporting literacy, learning and reading, and focused on serving our communities. Although the pace of digital innovation has been immense, libraries have held true to their values, and this has been shown through IFLA's Global Vision project. That work has shown that the library field is united in our goals and values, and we share a deep commitment to the enduring value and role of libraries. In this unprecedented year, I think that there are some common themes emerging. Our global library field is very good at working together and sharing information. The pandemic is highlighting and also hastening the changing role of libraries. We are innovative and creative in our responses. There is a new appreciation of libraries. We are seen as partners in delivery of services and important community resources. And there are significant concerns about funding into the future. There's a quote attributed to Maya Angelou, that says you can't really know where you are going until you know where you've been. And I hope that the insights you gain today through the presentations will help guide the future of libraries in Lithuania. Best wishes for the conference and to you all, and please stay well and take care.
Ačiū IFLA prezidentei Kristin.
Thank you, Christine Mackenzie. Thank you so much. I would like to remind you that you can watch this broadcast via Facebook, and two references. The conference is translated into Lithuanian and English. And the last welcome speech, Jolita Steponaitė. She's chairman of Lithuanian Librarians Association. I'm very pleased to see that more than 300 of you have been connected. I'm very glad that this year I can welcome you from the office of the President of the Republic of Lithuania. And I would like to highlight that this conference is not the last, and our plans are still ahead. How we have changed in the past 20 years. Biržiškas readings, the two traditional conferences which have accumulated quite many colleagues. How we have been living during this very difficult and challenging time. We also have a virus, but a very powerful virus, and the situation which has changed already, changed our values, changed our commitments, and I'm glad that during this time, this very challenging time, the librarians community demonstrated is contributing. It was very patient, very contributive, and we all remember various campaigns where all the libraries, public libraries, have contributed. We provided quite a lot of remote services, very important services to people. Well, during the second wave of coronavirus, libraries started a new stage of the activities, and we still have a lot of services to be provided, suggested to our clients. We have learned to work, to accumulate our efforts. Our technological capacities have changed in the past 20 years, and quite a lot of lessons we've learned. I'm also very glad to say that partners of this conference is the Office of the President of the Republic of Lithuania, and as a community, as an association of librarians, we are reliable, trustworthy partners. While preparing for this conference, we try to include relevant subjects, themes within the Lithuanian context and global context. I would like to thank Laura. I would like to thank Julia Glosaitė. Everyone who has a possibility. If you have any questions, please, after listening to presentations, write emails, and after lunch, I would like to welcome you to the discussion, which I think, and I'm sure will be very interesting for you. And I would like to take this opportunity to say many, many thanks to ASECO supporting this conference. And And this conference is funded and supported by the Lithuanian Cultural Council. Thank you, Jolita. Thank you for your contribution in organizing this conference. We will start soon presentations. I will moderate afterwards the discussion. And I think that it will be very interesting. My name is Lukas Keraitis. You can find information about me in the internet. I will follow the conference, follow presentations, follow the discussions. And Lithuanian Librarians Association's Facebook channel also provides broadcasts. So now let's start the conference. Tonia Arachova, IFLA Executive Committee member, IFLA Treasurer, and the title of her presentation, Libraries as Community Hubs, Why They Are So Needed in These Strange Pandemic Times. Antonia?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Labas rytas.
Hi, very well, thank you. Good morning. Thank you for
Jaučiuosi
being
puikiai, labai ačiū.
Thank you for being with us. We just had
Dėkoju
a short
Jums,
presentation about you,
kad
and you can now
dalyvaujate
take over your
čia
presentation.
kartu su mumis ir mes labai įdėmiai klausysime jūsų pristatymo.
Okay. I'm very happy to join you today.
Labai džiaugiuosi galėdama prisijungti prie jūsų šiandieną šioje konferencijoje. Labai ačiū už pakvietimą. Ir iš tikrųjų ypač įdomių laikų, kuomet mes visi kovojame su pandemija.
It would be better if you could share the screen.
Gerai, aš tuomet savo prezentaciją rodysiu jums ekrane.
Oh, it says that host disabled participant screen sharing, so if you could enable...
Jeigu galėtumėte man padėti pasidalinti šiomis skaidrėmis, kad visi matytų ekraną.
Visiems sekundėlę prašau kantrybės, tuoj susitvarkysim. Taip pat nepamirškite, kad galite užduoti klausimus pranešėjai, YouTube kanalų komentaruose. Jeigu tik tai liks laiko, būtinai užduosim, turėtų pranešimas baigtis 5 minutėm anksčiau. Gerai. So, Antonia, can you now share the screen? Can we see it?
Ar dabar jau gali matyti jūsų pristatymą?
You can see my PowerPoint right now?
Ar dabar matote mano skaidrės? Na, dar ne. Bet tikiuosi, kad tu jau matysim. Ką mes ten matome?
Can you try to move your slides, to change the slides?
Gal galit šiek tiek pajudinti skaidrės, pereiti prie kitos?
Can you see them now?
Ar dabar matote?
Can you see the slides right now?
No, unfortunately, we cannot see your slides, but we have your slides in the computer, so we'll share it. You can start your presentation, and we'll switch the slides for you. We'll try our best to match it. Is that okay? Because we cannot see your shared screen.
Okay, we'll try.
Antonia.
So you can see? Sorry, you can see the slides right now? Have shared screen?
No, we cannot see your slides, but now we can see it. Finally, it's working well. So now just you can start the presentation with the opening slide. Yeah, sorry for the difficulties and
No, it's technology.
Yeah, it's Zoom times. All good. So we are listening.
Okay. So, labas rytas. diagiosi galedamas esuyumi basicas. I'm sorry for my bad Lithuanian. I just tried. It's actually it's my second time that now that I have a virtual connection with Vilnius. I was in your beautiful city 2 years ago in a conference organized by the National Library of Lithuania. And I really enjoyed very much the city, the people, and the culture. Today, my presentation will have to do with libraries as hubs, and especially the connection between the UN sustainability goals and libraries, and also about IFLA's initiatives in this strange period because of COVID-19 and the role of libraries. So you can see in the screen the brochure of the UN about libraries development and the UN agenda of 2030. With the 70 UN sustainability goals and how libraries are connected with these goals, working effectively in trying to put these goals in practice for the good of the people and the good of society. I'm going to talk specifically for each one of its goals later on. I just want to mention that libraries are key institutions for achieving the goals. And over the last few years, IFLA has been actively involved with the creation of the UN 2030 agenda, advocating for the inclusion of access of information, which I think is the most important nowadays, to give to people the possibility to have access to the information regardless to its social status, to the country one lives, to his educational background, and so on. So, in August 2015, after more than 3 years of negotiations and intense involvement from many stakeholders, including IFLA, the member states of the United Nations agreed to a final version of the post-2015 development agenda, now known as the Agenda 2030. This agenda was adopted by world leaders in September 2015 in a historical summit, which was the historical UN summit. And I must mention now that IFLA is a very proud discussion, has a very proud discussion with the UN, and IFLA is an ongoing conversation and negotiation with UN about the empowerment of libraries in practicing the UN goals in the countries all over the world. Well, I want also to mention that in this agenda, the access of information has been recognized as a target, as is the Sustainability Development Goal 16, which is one of the most important for IFLA, as it is mentioned to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable and inclusive institutions at all levels. It is important also the Article 16.10 to ensure public access to information and protect fundamental freedoms in accordance with national legislation and international agreements. So the goal 16 is very important, and also it has to do with other goals like the 5, the D, and the 17. We're going to see more about each one of it, as I said, later on. What I would like to underline is something that it was really important in this sustainability goals agenda, and what it was written, it was that we envision a world with universal literacy. And this is very important for the people's education, for the people's well-being, and for creating societies where people are literate, and people not only have the access to information, but people practice their rights to access to real education. And this is the very important role of libraries. Well, going on, I would like to mention one of the most important of IFLA's programs is the IAP, the International Advisory Program. It is a program mainly funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We are proud because many people around the world have taken part in this program, creating bridges between people from different continents, from different libraries, from different library types, from different library status and backgrounds all around the world. What is the objective of this IFLA initiative, and why this program is important for IFLA, why this program is important for libraries and librarians? The objective is to raise the level of awareness on the SDGs of library workers at community, national and regional levels, and to promote the important role libraries can play in development by contributing to the UN 2030 agenda and the SDGs. And of course, to increase the participation of library associations and public library representatives in advocacy work at national and regional levels to secure a sustainable public access to information through library services and through also library programs. So in the slides, I hope the slides will be available to all your audiences, even if it's in the physical place or virtually. You can find more about this program, and we urge everybody to apply next year in order to be a candidate and participate in this program. So this program mainly was launched in 2016, and it was designed in order libraries to play a real role in the implementation of UN goals. It's a very important program, and you can see also in the next slide that as I mentioned, one of the most important SDGs is the SDG 16. This is a brochure from the UN, and you can see that these sustainability goals that has to do with peace, with access to information, with poverty, with problems that people face in everyday lives, are interconnected with the services that libraries can provide to people, to its communities, that libraries as social hubs can provide this kind of services to the people. That's why one of the initiatives of IFLA was the Library Map of the World. The Library Map of the World was a program installed after the Global Vision one of the most important projects ever in IFLA's history, in order to know who we are, which means in order to have the whole picture of the libraries around the world and to know each one and every library where it is located and any other information about the library. And why did we do it? In order to create connections and cooperations between the libraries, because this is the important thing, in order libraries to get connected and in order to get to move on to synergies and to cooperations. That's why IFLA has also promoted the idea of the UN week by creating several initiatives, and one of these was the SDG story submission form. So in IFLA website, you could find, and you can find a special form. Our website is www.ifla.org, where you can put on the story of a library. I know that in Lithuania, you have amazing libraries. I have visited your national library, and I know how active is your library, is your National Library Association. So I urge you to go to the website and to put on a story about your library, and this story has to do with one of the SDGs, and I'm sure that a campaign about the SDG promote not only the world peace, but also the role of the libraries of the world and of your library in people's life. Because I really believe in libraries. I really believe in libraries not only because I work for them for 26 years of my life. I believe in libraries because libraries are really the global voice of people. They are the democratic hubs where people can find access to information, to education, and they are really the cultural meeting point. So, moving on, because I don't want to lose more time. You can see also in our website the L4P, which means the Library for Peace. It was from 2016, enabling sustainable development, and it's an initiative of the Monterson Center. I had the honor to give a speech a month ago to the Monterson Center, also discussing about how libraries can promote the world peace. So just to see a little bit of these goals and how libraries can contribute and are connected, I'm going to spend just 1 minute in each of the goals in order to reach the final part of the presentation about COVID and the pandemic that we are all suffering these extraordinary times. So the first sustainability goal is no poverty. So public access to information and resources that give people opportunities to improve their lives, training in new skills needed for education and employment, and information to support decision-making by governments, civil society, and business to combat poverty. Then it's 2, which is zero hunger. So libraries can promote agricultural research and data on how to make crops more productive and sustainable. Public access for farmers to online resources like local market prices, weather reports, and also new equipment. The goal 3 is the good health and well-being, and this is quite important in these days, the days of pandemic. So we have seen that libraries in many countries around the world made available research in medical and hospital libraries that support education and improves medical practice for health area providers. Also, public access to health and wellness information in public libraries that helps individuals and families stay healthy. And we can understand how important this is nowadays. So, we move on to goal 4, which is quality education. Dedicated staff who support early literacy and lifelong learning, access to information and research for students everywhere, and inclusive spaces where cost is not a barrier to new knowledge and skills. And of course, 5, the gender equality, a very hot topic, especially the last years. Programs and services designed to meet the needs of women and girls, like their rights and health, and also access to information and ICT that helps women build their own business skills, which is very important for their development. I put together the goal 6 and the goal 7. And this has to do with the clean water and the clean energy. So to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Goal number 8, which means the economic growth. So when one has access to information and skills training that people need to find, apply for, and succeed in better jobs. And we have seen many examples around the world for libraries providing these kind of services to people in order to apply and also to find jobs. And I reached the goal number 9, where libraries promote this goal, the goal of industry and innovation, by providing widespread existing infrastructure of public and research libraries and skilled library professional, welcoming inclusive public spaces and access to ICT, which means to the intelligent technology, like high-speed internet, which maybe does not exist in the homes where all people are living. Then we have one of the most important goals. It's the goal 10, and libraries support the reduced inequalities by providing neutral and welcoming spaces that make learning accessible to all, including marginalized groups like refugees, immigrants, persons with disabilities, and of course, equitable access to information that supports social, political, and of course, economical inclusion. And then we have the goal 11, which is the sustainable cities. And what libraries can provide? Well, this is very important from my opinion. Provide trusted institutions devoted to promote cultural inclusions and understanding, and documentation and preservation of cultural heritage for future generation. And then I put together the 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th, because this has to do with climate, with the water and the land. And here, libraries can also play a vital role, providing research and data needed to form climate change policy, a hot topic at least the last 10 years, and widespread access to information needed to guide decision-making by local and national governments on topics like hunting, fishing, land use, and water management. And now I am coming to one from my point of view, one of the most important goals, and which I mentioned also in the beginning of my lecture. It's the goal 16 and has to do with peace and justice and strong institutions, and libraries support this goal by providing public access to information about governments, civil society, and other institutions, training in the skills needed to understand and use this information, inclusive, politically neutral spaces for people to meet and organize their studies, organize their research, organize even their hobbies. And the last goal is the goal 17, is partnerships. One of my favorite words, which has Greek origin, is synergy, which means partnership. And libraries create a global network of community-based institutions primed to support the local development plans. And this is extremely important, of course, in our life. Here are some of the suggested actions. You can read them also in IFLA website. I'm just urging you to visit the IFLA website and to see more on this. And these are 5 ways, I just mentioned it by headline, of how libraries support the SDGs and how you can support. It just use our poster on your websites and social media. Think of a store you can contribute to the library map of the world. Organize and present your own advocacy resources. And I am sure that in Lithuania, a historical country, you have many of these resources. Take the message to the decision makers and to the influencers about the role of the libraries, and of course assess your capacity to advocate around these SDGs. And now I am coming to the last part of my presentation, that it has to do with IFLA and COVID-19 and libraries and COVID-19, because libraries are really important in people's life, especially in these extraordinary, strange times of the COVID-19. IFLA has created, even in the beginning of the pandemic, has created a pool with key resources for libraries in responding to the coronavirus pandemic. So we have resources about the latest cases, we have resources about the disease, we have access to the World Health Organization in order to have access, everyday access to the cases and what is and accurate information about what is really going on. So in this pool, we can manage different approach to restrictions, like business more or less as usual, what libraries used to do and what libraries are doing now. Business with some restrictions, minimal services, full closure, like in Greece, all the libraries now are closed because we are in lockdown. Preparing for a reopening, how you can prepare your library in order to open again, how to stay safe at home and at work, and this is how to consult the library staff and also your users to stay healthy and safe at their home and at work. And of course, we promote services in order to handle the social distancing, which is a very important factor for people, to make them depressed, melancholic, and so on. So these kind of services can be provided remotely, like creating online story times, increasing the number of books that people can borrow, help for people needing to apply for benefits or looking for jobs, especially in these risky financial times in the worldwide economy, putting existing activities online and inventing new ones, and also creating virtual escape rooms, which is not actually a joke, but it's like a book escape rooms where people can have electronically their favorite book and escape from the depression that may feel. We have poetry slams, online homework help and public debates, poetry therapy as a means of enhancing users' well-being, and of course, we have to point out every day the role of libraries as guardians of the historical record is as strong as ever, especially today. And now I am reaching one of my favorite parts, is the library associations. Library associations around the world in these strange times of COVID-19 have done a tremendous job through social media campaigns, organizing a series of webinars like the one that you organize. I also, as an example, I can put the Danish Library Association is running courses on design thinking for libraries, and the Austrian Library Association, which has transformed its in-person continuing professional development offer into e-learning. And also, we have to reassign the library resources by contacting service centers for people in isolation. Some libraries also give laptops and Wi-Fi and create Wi-Fi hotspots, which they have created to make available to the local homeless shelter, provide key resources for people who are unemployed, as the Indianapolis Public Library now is doing. Also, another example is the Toronto Public Library, which has joined in the city's annual Newcomers Day in order to make refugees and other Torontonians to feel more welcome. And of course, we have other kind of services like child care facilities, emergency coordination centers, and to coming overseas and to go to the South America. For example, in Montevideo, Uruguay, public libraries have set up and book service, visiting in particular soup kitchens and other places where it is possible to lend works to people who are really in need. And of course, we are all very eager for this pandemic to finish. So we have plans for reopening around the world, like actions by associations, national libraries and library partners, like LIBER for academic libraries in Europe, and the BLIDA has developed a checklist of actions members can take. And also NIPO in Europe has produced a valuable report highlighting the situation across 20 members as the pandemic arrived and took hold. Also, we have plans from national libraries and of course from other partners. I just mentioned OCLC, which bring together through a program over 1,000 librarians in order to share stories and build understanding of the need of the profession. It's time of decisions, and one of the writers, of the Lithuanian writers that I have learned through the translation in English is Ruta Sepetis. And I like very much one of her mottos: decisions, they shape our destiny. So decisions in these extraordinary strange days can shape the future of libraries. So let's take the best decision for the future of our libraries and our communities in the post-COVID-19 era. Thank you so much for your attention. Labai aku uz jūsu dėmesį. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Antonia. Thank you for your presentation. We were listening, and all of us were listening to your presentation. Thank you for explaining sustainable development goals and how libraries can add to that. So thank you very much. And I guess you're talking from Athens at the moment.
Yes, I am in Athens. Yes, at the moment I was at The Hague for the last General Assembly 2 weeks ago, but now I am in Athens and we are in complete lockdown. But I'm really very happy for this communication that I have with you, and I am at your disposal for any questions or of any help that personally myself and IFLA can provide to you. And I must say that you have a very active National Library Association, and I would like to congratulate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your kind words, Antonia, and thank you for your presentation. So best regards to Athens, and we'll see you later, and we'll be continuing with the conference now. So thank you very much, Antonia.
Thank you. Bye-bye, and thank you very, very much. Bye-bye.
Ačiū Antonijai už prezentaciją, ačiū visiems, kas toliau žiūrite šią tiesioginę transliaciją. Taip, keli patikslinimai, keli techniniai dalykėliai, ką mes čia bandėme įsiaiškinti čate YouTube kanalo. Tai jūs turėjote gauti 2 nuorodas su viena transliacija lietuvių kalba, kita transliacija anglų kalba, tiesiog gavote 2 nuorodas su anglų kalba. Bandėme tai ištaisyti, bet į YouTube negalima nusiųsti nuorodų. Tai dabar padarykime taip. Visa lietuvių kalba transliacija vyksta Lietuvos bibliotekininkų
You can find this broadcast in the Facebook or in the webpage of the Lithuanian Librarians Association. Lithuanian Librarian Association's Facebook page. We have 356 people listening, gargždai sending.
Tai žodžiu, geriausia būti ten. O šitoje YouTube nuorodoje, kurią dabar matote, bus viskas verčiama į
everything
lietuvių
will
kalbą,
be translated into Lithuanian if we have presentations in English. So let's move forward. Associate Professor Dr. Znaida Mandžuk, Faculty of Communication of Vilnius University, together with Elena Matsevičiūtė, Professor Elena Matsevičiūtė, and the subject of presentation is why and how seniors search for and use information, a glance from the perspective of one's life goals. Zinaida, do you hear us? As far as I understand, you will be alone. Can you see my slides? So, the floor is yours. Dear colleagues, I'm very pleased to have a possibility today to speak with you, to speak about so important issues. Usually, I'm used to meet in Biržiška's reading conferences, but this year is an exceptional year. And, well, I would like to present to you our joint research on how senior people search for and use information. Without any doubt, the information behavior field of people is visible theme in social sciences with abundant and rich research data. But the question is, why did we decide to analyze this issue? While analyzing the research data, we saw that often the elderly adults are approached from the perspectives of the declining abilities, social exclusion, and the need for compensation or care. So a person who's about 60, 65 becomes a senior person. So it is a time of period of losses, and the information behavior is being analyzed from the perspective of the loss. Biological organism functions are restricted, people feel isolated, and we thought that this is not a good approach, this is not a sound approach, and that it does not reflect various very rich changes in different age periods of a person. So therefore, in our study, we offer a socio-emotional selectivity theory approach to information behavior of the elderly. And SST, this selectivity theory, argues that depending on the perception of time left in life, individuals prioritize between two major life goals: knowledge acquisition and emotional regulation. And depending on the subjective perception, people raise different life goals, which can be divided into two main groups. First of all, knowledge acquisition goals are aimed at preparing for the future and investing in activities that could lead to the best use of future possibilities, to widen their social contacts, to better adjust to the unknown changes in the future. When a person perceives, understands that he has not much time to live, he raises different goals. He or she tries to think about the emotional feelings, physical feelings, health. So emotional regulation goals, pleasant communication with other people. So based on this theory, we make an assumption that elderly people, they do understand that they have not so much time left in the future. So in our study, we analyzed how emotional regulation life goals of the elderly and strategies chosen to pursue them shape components of information behavior. In libraries, the elderly people are a very important group, a target group of the libraries. And we try to analyze how elderly people search for information, how they use information. And this analysis, I think, will help libraries to attract more elderly people to the libraries, will help to more actively solve service provision problems, and to create a more effective communication strategy adapted or adjusted to this particular target group. So first of all, let's speak about the information behavior. So it analyzes how people search for and analyze information. There are different models, including different stages, factors. In this stage, we based our analysis on three basic methods. So first of all, the needs for information, subjective perception expressed via the behavior, providing for the explanation of various motivation theories. Another component, information search behavior, search ways, channels, measures, tools, and what information sources they are using, and data processing and use and behavior of people in data processing. So integration of information into the present context. So now about the emotional regulation goals and the expression. So the impact on the decisions is expressed via 4 dimensions. So first of all, while understanding that not much time is left, a person is more directed toward his or her emotional well-being, focused on emotional well-being in present. This means that it is very important for a person to feel good, to feel well, and this has a very definite impact on the behavior. That person is not very much motivated to receive new information. Decision-making is not so effective. Social networks. When a person is more directed toward acquaintances, people he or she trusts, he or she feels comfortable, because new contact not necessarily promise a very nice communication, and the results might be quite different and could be seen only in the future. Then cognitive processes also includes different changes. Usually a person bases his behavior on the experience. Elderly person has quite a lot of experience, and this is kind of a strategy of saving different resources. And in the cognitive processes, emotions play a very important role. Ideas, memories, thoughts, sometimes even irrational decisions are made by the people. And a person seeks for positive emotional experiences in general, and he or she avoids negative experiences. A person wants to feel good, and this sometimes irrational strategy gives positive results. And people are more happy, and if they are emotionally happy. But each of the above dimensions can have both negative and positive impact on the information behavior of the elderly people. Now, a few words about the research design. By using SST concept of life goals, we search for the presence of emotional regulation in previous information behavior research. We try to find the scientific publications, researches, studies, analyzing information behavior. We restricted our research by the decade. The senior people are being analyzed quite intensively, and we try to interpret the results of former studies via SST concept and to explain what is going on in each stage of the information behavior. So we managed to identify 46 researches, and these are interdisciplinary studies. The information behavior of senior people are addressed by many scientists. because for them it is very important not how to organize services to elderly people, what measures are used by senior people while searching for information on health, social research, communication, library sciences, business management, economics, public administration, even geography research, and computer, mathematics. Senior people are just interested as tools, as consumers of information technologies. What main subjects have been analyzed? The majority of our subjects dealt with health information behavior, on how elderly people use different tools, via what channels, how they use information, information on health. Quite a lot of studies were related to these situations, which we could refer to as challenging situation, as critical situation or problematic situations. For instance, the elderly people having some acute illnesses, and we managed to find information on how senior people tackle health problems. We analyze senior immigrants and how they adapt to new environments, digital information usage, laboratory information behavior experiments. So quite a lot of studies. So now a few things about overview of findings. What is happening in each stage of information behavior? So 4 change dimensions suggested by the SST. We analyzed 15 subjects. I will provide some examples. So first of all, focus on emotional well-being in present. So first of all, it impacts the main motives and the needs which promote informative activities. So first of all, the needs related to favorite activities, the needs allowing to improve quality of life. So people are more interested in healthy lifestyle, they are concerned about the quality of life of their family members. Another very important impact or priority in the life change, less motivation to get engaged into the active life. People avoid search for targeted information. They give priority to passive receipt of information. This means that they don't search for specific information, but simply receive it just while watching TV, listening to radio, communicating with friends, other people. What is interesting, that the orientation to the emotional well-being has a big impact on the motivation to use information. So people usually, give these tasks to elderly people, try to ask their children, acquaintances, friends, to find some kind of information. So emotional well-being is very, very important. And information receipt in a way is quite passive information search. We can also big changes in information behavior based on social networks, on priority in elderly people. So while using different information tools, people give priorities to the current networks, and they seek to use current available tools, but not to find new tools. The analysis of the use of social networks revealed that the elderly people usually use these tools in order to maintain the current social networks, but they are less effective in trying to increase the amount of communication, in making new contacts. So people restrict their behavior in the current activities, and technologies for them are just simply as a tool for maintaining the current communication. And it is very important to receive information for the elderly from other people who they trust, from trustworthy people, from family members. According to the research, elderly people try to find information from other people because they lack the ability, the capacity to use information technologies via different information search tools. Because people, elderly people, this is also related to the use of information. A very interesting study was made analyzing the women over 70 years of age with cancer, and this study showed that for these women it was most important not to receive more information via different tools, not to read many articles via internet, in books, in publications. For them, it was most important to discuss the perspectives of treatment with people, with other people, creating a very, very sensitive, emotionally sound atmosphere to discuss. And their life quality, the quality of life of women has increased considerably. So it is very, very important how this information is provided and the possibility for people to discuss this information in friendly atmosphere. So according to the research, cognitive processes are also changing. In decision-making, in deciding on whether to use some tools, information tools, on whether to engage in information search, emotions play a very important role. Senior people, the elderly people who have acquired information technologies, they have certain emotional connection, and their motivation to use these technologies complied with their emotional attitude toward these tools, because they treated technologies as kind of emotionally sound, and they felt well while using these technologies. Another tendency, while using different info search tools, they are more apt to save resources. People used to refuse to specify certain data because it is an ordinary strategy, but elderly people tried to avoid that because this is kind of investment and requiring some energy and abilities. Information use peculiarities. People are apt to base on their available knowledge, and this might have negative and positive impact. For example, there is an article analyzing how elderly people, how they manage the natural disaster, for example, information. People have acquired quite a lot of information about the signs of the approaching natural disaster. So these people might be referred to as, as resources of wisdom. And sometimes not sharing this information might play quite a bad role. Sometimes information might be not accurate, not trustworthy, and emotions sometimes interfere in the evaluation of trustworthiness of information, because the people sometimes elderly people related emotionally with other people, but they are referred to as trustworthy, although these things are not related. And this was revealed in the research about the Chinese immigrants who trusted their community, the people from China, people who stem from the same area in China, who often speak the same dialect. They were referred to as objective, friendly, or trustworthy, although these were not absolutely not related issues. So emotions are very, very important in terms of reliability of information. Emotional experiences, everybody is impacted and by the emotions. Emotional experiences might have positive impact. Elderly people are usually more happy with small things, and in various contexts, especially in relation to health. So this might have quite a negative impact. For example, elderly people avoid to search for information related to their health, to changes in their health, even if these changes are obvious. So senior people are apt to deny these changes, kind of trying to protect their health from negative experiences, negative information. In general, people are apt to avoid information search about diseases, about illnesses, and that they are more concentrated toward positive things. And specialists providing services to elderly people are negative toward communication via different tools, or maybe kind of prevention, because very often we hear in the commercials that services to the elderly or measures to the elderly allow people to avoid negative consequences. This is a very, very negative strategy, because the elderly people do not relate themselves to the negative experiences, and they block this information. For example, elderly people evaluated supplementary measures as useful, but they didn't think that these measures are for them. They are designed specifically for them. They imagined people with disabilities, cognitive disabilities, but they didn't consider themselves as disabled people and as people having health problems. So now, coming to the conclusion, what message could we bring by using SS theory in the analysis of information research of the elderly people? The major advantage of this theory is that it is a non-discriminative framework. It is based on subjective perception of the horizon of a person's life. And this theory is not focused on the loss, because, not only physical changes, but only other changes are related to different periods, ages of people. And it is a planetary framework for interpreting information activities is very important. And the application of this theory is not restricted with the elderly people. Young people, for example, with different diseases and whose life perspective has shrinked, their priorities also change. For example, young people after various traumas, catastrophes, any threats to their health, which reduce their perspective, life perspective. So this theory is very, very useful in order to get acquainted with a person and to receive a rich picture, vivid picture about the motivators of that person. Another very important message. When we speak about information behavior, we focus on the measures, capacities, abilities, and we think that people might take rational decisions. And we underestimate emotions. And as we could see in our analysis, emotions play a very important role for elderly people. And we have to bear that in mind. Emotions have both negative and positive impact. In terms of information literacy, about the evaluation assessment of information and the strategy of the assessment, actually emotions might do a bad work for the elderly people. According to one of the studies analyzing the connection between the emotional regulation objectives and the intentions to disseminate non-proved information about health. So the more a person is focused to the emotional regulation, the more we can expect that he or she will disseminate or share information, not trustworthy, misinformation to other people who might be, disinformed about the real situation. And the librarians have a perfect possibility, while knowing elderly people, to adapt, to adjust their services in order to change their communication. Let's direct our activity according to our positive experiences. Let's not use negative things. Don't tell people what they will avoid by using this or that. This principle is very widely applied in various commercials, and I think that it could be applied to the libraries trying to attract elderly people to various programs of information literacy, or libraries trying to attract senior people to other programs. I hope that the information which I provided was interesting to you, and I think that afterwards you will try to interpret your situations differently. Thank you so much for your attention. Any questions?
Ačiū Jums už pranešimą, ačiū už papasakojimą.
Thank you very much. Jolita Steponaitienė. Question.
Ačiū Zinaida už
Thank you,
pranešimą,
Zinaida, for
kadangi
your
aš irgi jau judu
presentation.
link senjorų amžiaus. Tai tiesiog noriu paklausti, ar jau yra kažkokios
future senior,
prognozės, kurios galėtų pasakyti,
elderly,
kaip
are there any
keisis tų
forecasts
senjorų elgsena,
saying on how the behavior of elderly people will
tikrai
change,
man
for
nereikės
example,
to
in 5
mokytis, ko
years
daug ko dabar
period.
mokosi senjorai, ypač tų medijų raštingumo, informacinio
Media
raštingumo.
literacy, information
Mano
literacy.
šiaip jau kitokia yra informacinė elgsena negu
My
kad
information
dabartinio senjoro.
behavior is
Ar jau prognozuojama,
different
kas bus
from the
ateityje?
current elderly people. There any prognosis, forecasts? So this theory allows us to avoid mistaken forecasts, because quite a lot of studies on information behavior showed that information applied to other people for information because they don't have enough capacities to use internet. And this is a mistaken assumption, and this theory reveals that. Now, in terms of forecasts for future, it depends on what age group of elderly people we are talking about. Because this theory is not an absolute. Because if you give priority to the emotional well-being, then other capacities simply disappear. When senior people are provided with a task, with a well-defined, to critically evaluate information, they had wonderful skills. But we here speak more about the priorities, about what is more traditional behavior to people. But this theory prevents from mistaken conclusions. Thank you for your response. Thank you, Professor Zinaida. Let's move forward. Dr. Ineta Kraus-Ward, an independent researcher and expert, member of CILIP community, Diversity and Equality Committee from the United Kingdom, a woman who reads Constraints and Empowerments, Insights from Foreign Experience. So, Ineta, now I will try to contact you.
Ineta, can you hear us? Ineta lietuviškai.
Labas rytas, Lukai.
Atsiprašau. Atsiprašau, galvojau, kad angliškai kalbėsimės, bet viskas gerai, lietuviškai. Tai mano kaltė. Kaip gyvuojat? Kaip mus girdit?
Ačiū labai gerai, kaip jūs laikotės?
Gerai, mes irgi labai puikiai. 420 klausytojų šią akimirką yra Facebook'e, dar YouTube kanale taip pat žmonių yra. Bet to verta paminėti, kad jau dabar YouTube kanale abi nuorodos veikia tvarkingai, tai tiek anglų, tiek lietuvių kalbomis viską susitvarkime. Ir tuomet, Ineta, manau, galite pradėti. Laukime jūsų pranešimo, po jo galbūt dar spėsime užduoti kokį klausimą.
Ačiū.
For the questions.
Aha, ar dalinatės skaidrėmis, ar ne?
Taip, dabar kaip tik ruošiuosi.
I'm going to share your
gerai, palauksime to.
slides. Yes, just a moment.
Taip, skaidrės matome.
Okay, you can see them now.
Ir jūs matome.
And we can see you as well.
Labas rytas, mėly kolegos,
Good morning,
džiugu, kad
colleagues.
visi gausiai
I'm really
prisijungėte.
happy to see
Turbūt
so
niekada
many
gyvenime
of you.
neturėjau dar tokios gausios auditorijos,
I
viskas
have
dėka
probably never in my
šitų
life
nuotolinių
had
technologijų ir manau, kad
so many
šitas
listeners
virusas
before.
tai tamsus
I believe
debesis
this
ant šių metų,
virus that we
bet
are facing is a
pasirodo,
dark
jis turi tam
cloud.
tikrų auksinių
However, it
kraštelių
has
šitas
some
debesis. Ir manau, mūsų tokie
silver
gausus
lining.
nuotoliniai susitikimai yra iš vienas iš tų malonių
And I believe that
aplinkybių,
such
kurias
virtual
atnešė mums
meetings
šitą
is one of
pandemiją.
very nice experiences that the pandemic has provided us with.
Mano šios dienos pranešimas, kaip
My
jau
today's
matėte programoje,
presentation, as you could see,
skirtas
from the
moterims,
program
skirtas
is
skaitančioms moterims.
devoted to women who
Mano
like to read.
uždaviniai šiandieną,
And
mano
my
temos, apie kurias
targets
aš
today
kalbėsiu,
include
Tai
the following.
informacinės spragos,
First of
duomenų,
all,
statistinių duomenų
data
spragos,
gaps
kurios yra susijusios su skaitimo
and
tyrimais,
primarily
skaitimo istorijos
related
tyrimais,
to
bibliotekininkystės tyrimais. Taip
research
pat
into
trumpai
reading.
užsiminsiu apie
I
pagrindinius
will
iššūkius, su
also
kuriais susiduria
focus
moteris,
on
skaitančios
challenges
moteris,
on
rašančios moteris.
patriarchal society, on
Ir
female readership.
kalbėsiu apie moterų
Then
skaitimą,
I will
kuris
speak about
taip gaunasi, kad
women's
tampa
reading
politiniu aktu
as a
tiek
political
praeityje,
act
tiek ir šiandieną.
in the
Na
past
ir
and today.
parodysiu
And
situacijas
I
ir
will
aplinkybės,
also
kuriuose
show some
skaitimas, rašymas,
examples and
literatūra, knygos,
situations when
raštingumas
reading
tampa
literature
moterų įgalinimo
becomes
pagrindiniais įrankiais.
empowerment for
Pagrindiniai
women.
raktažodžiai, kad būtų aiškus mano
The
kalbėjimo
basic
diskursas
keywords.
šiandieną, taip vienas iš žodžių, iš svarbių terminų yra
Include
feminizmas.
feminism,
Tiek vakaruose, tiek ir
both
Lietuvoje.
in the West and in Lithuania.
Šitas terminas
This
turi
term
tam tikrą negatyvų
has
atspalvį,
some
dažniausiai
negative
feminizmas
implications
asocijuojasi
because
su
it's often associated
kažkokia tai
with
radikalia,
some
agresyvia
radical,
teorija,
aggressive theory.
tačiau bent jau
However,
trečiojo feminizmo bangoje,
At least in
kurią
the
mes
third wave of
šiandieną
feminism
patiriame,
that we
tai
are
visų pirma
seeing
yra
today,
atidus žvilgsnis
it is
į
first of
moterį.
all an attentive look at the woman.
Populiarus posakis šiuo
And
metu,
there is a popular
kurį
saying
ir vyrai, ir moteris nešiojant marškinėlių
that both
angliškai
men
skamba,
and
we should
women
all be feminists. Mes visi turėtume
are
būti
wearing on their
feministais.
t-shirts. We
Nors
should all be
lietuvių bendrinės kalbos reikalavimai
feminists
teigia,
today.
jog profesijų grupinio kolektyvinio daiktavardžio nuoroda turėtų būti vyriškos lyties. Mes sakome bibliotekininkai, gydytojai, mokytojai,
When we say librarians,
kažkodėl tai
nurses,
retai girdime pasakymą
doctors,
feministai, feministas.
in Lithuanian
Kodėl tai
it's
moteriškos
masculine,
lyties feministės yra?
but
A,
we never
įdomi
hear
aplinkybė.
feminists
Ko aš tikėčiausi šiandieną, kad jūs tapsite
in
šiek tiek
male
daugiau žinančiais
gender.
apie moterų skaitybą, apie
I hope
iššūkius, su
that
kuriais susiduria skaitančios
after listening
moterys.
to my presentation, you will
Tai
hear
galbūt mano
more
pranešimas
about
bus, proga
what
jums patiems
challenges
pasvarstyti apie savo
women
skaitymo
facing
istoriją,
when reading,
apie tai, kokia jūsų,
how
tai
it
yra
all
lietuvių
looked in the
skaitytojų,
past,
skaitymo
and maybe
istorija
it will
buvo
encourage
privilegijuota
you
lyginant su kitomis
to
valstybėmis.
get some insights looking
Pagrindiniai
into
metodai, kuriuos
Lithuania's
taikysiu,
history.
vienas įdomus metodas,
The
tikiuosi,
methods
kad
I'm going to
pagelbėsite
apply,
ir įsitrauksite, būsite aktyvūs šito pranešimo dalyviai.
I hope that you
Norėčiau, kad
will
padėtumėt ir
be
atsakytumėt
active
į
and
vieną
engaged in the
klausimą, kurį aš
discussion,
jums užduosiu šiek
and
tiek
I would
vėliau.
like you to help me to answer one of the questions
Na
that I'm
ir
going to
pradėsiu nuo
raise.
istorijos, kadangi vienas
Let me
iš
start
metodų
from the
kaip jau yra
history,
istorijų pasakojimas nuo savo asmeninės
if you don't
istorijos.
mind. My
Kaip aš
personal
pradėjau atidžiau
history,
žiūrėti į
how
moteris
I
moksliniuose tyrimuose.
started to look more attentively
Mano
at
dideliai
women.
gėdai kaip mokslininkei. Aš
As a
praėjus tik
researcher,
11 metų po
it
savo
was
daktaro
only
disertacijos
11
gynimo
years after I
supratau,
defended my
kad,
doctoral thesis that I
aš
came
buvau
to
akla,
realize that I was really
moteris,
blindfolded
kurios dalyvavo mano disertacinėme tyrime, aš jų
towards
nepamačiau.
women who participated in my research.
Mano tyrimas buvo
My
istorinis
research
lyginamasis tyrimas,
was
tai buvo
historical
bibliotekininkų,
comparative
bibliotekų darbuotojų, ekspertų
study
apklausa, kuri buvo atlikta
that
pirmą kartą
included a survey of
1981
women
metais,
librarians
ir mano kartotinis tyrimas buvo atliktas
back in
2009 metais, po
1948
25 metų.
and then
Duomenys
25
lyginant
years later
skiriasi,
again.
kai kas statistika buvo banguojanti,
The data were
bet
not the
vienas
same,
didžiausias statistiškai
but
rodiklis,
one indicator, one key
98
indicator showed
kuris
that
nepasikeitė. Nei
98%,
84 metais lyginant
this
nei
indicator
2009,
remained the same in
kuris buvo prieš mano akis, prieš mano
1940,
oponenčių, mano konsultančių,
1984 and
mes
25 years later.
nepamatėme, kas tai buvo svarbus elementas. 98%
98% of people who participated in the survey were women librarians. Both in 1984 and 2009, we seemed to ignore this important fact, because in sociology, the gender is an important factor when looking into
different answers. In this particular case, we did ignore the factor of gender.
Sandy Toksvig,
a historian, a researcher, presented a quotation from her studies in Cambridge, when during the anthropology lecture, the professor showed the students one of the first historical calendars with 28 incisions. This is often considered to be a man's first attempt at a calendar. And the professor then asked, what kind of man would need to mark 28 days on the calendar? Women grasp what I'm talking about easily. And then the question is, how often we are blindfolded with respect to women's contribution to history in the past and today? How often had we overlooked women's contributions? What I would recommend you to read, if you are able to in English, is Carolina Criado Perez's book, Invisible Woman. The goal of the writer was to demonstrate how many gaps in statistics we have in our environment and how it all affects society in general, its political, cultural development, and how it is important to see a woman and her needs. One of the public campaigns of Carolina Perez after 1985, after she learned that the Bank of England was going to change the £5 banknote and eliminate the picture of Elizabeth Wright from the banknote, which was replaced by Winston Churchill's picture. Caroline Perez decided it was not fair, it was not objective, because there are so many outstanding women in England's history that deserve to be on currency banknotes. She organized a major campaign, after which Jane Austen, the outstanding English writer, appeared on the £10 banknote with her quotation, "I declare, after all, there is no enjoyment like reading," a quotation from Pride and Prejudice. We can probably still remember our Lithuanian litas banknotes and the picture of our famous Lithuanian writer on one of the banknotes, which is an important fact, Žemaitė, the picture of our writer, Žemaitė. When looking at the invisible women in history, as far as it comes to libraries and readership, a few more interesting examples. It shows that the enlightened Dark Ages were not as dark as it may seem, because monasteries were an important hub of culture at that time, and both monks and nuns were really dedicated to books, formation of libraries, and their contribution to the culture of that time was really quite similar. If we look at the 17th or 18th century, the music of that time the biggest opponents, Francesco Cavalli, when heading the cultural institution and having big influence, made sure that namely his works were kept in the library and played after his death. And Barbara Strozzi, being a woman, could not really fight against Francesco Cavalli at that time, and her name was actually deleted from the lists in the libraries. Now I would like to address you, and I would like your opinion on this point. If you have a smartphone next to you, or maybe a tablet, if you enter the code on the reference, I may ask you to answer the question, who was the first person who helped you to learn to read in your life? I have one answer already.
Taip, kad ir toks nedidelis klausimas, nedidelė imtis, turime apie 40
atsakysiu, koks gražus
answers now, atsakymų debesis formuojasi.
And you see a very beautiful cloud forming now, and it's quite clear who is in the center. Mom, grandmother, sister, teacher. We also have some fathers and brothers there, but the biggest majority is still mama, sister, grandmother. Thank you so much. You did confirm my hypothesis on this point. And I can tell you that when I was asking other nationality responders, the answer was exactly the same. The vision of a woman teaching her child to read is typical of all the cultures, in all the times. I will show you later the prevailing Christian situation as far as reading is concerned. And here I could try to raise your self-confidence by a quotation of Marian Wolf, who showed how complicated is the process of learning to read. We have our central nervous system, and it took our species roughly 2,000 years to make the cognitive breakthrough necessary to learn to read with an alphabet, whereas today our children have to reach those same insights about print in roughly 2,000 days, including me and you. It was 1 year, 2 years. So just imagine what an evolutionary shift we are talking about today. Reading is not a skill which is easily gained by everyone. We all know what dyslexia is, written word blindness, which is considered to be a relic of the pre-literate human brain. And it is important to note that dyslexia is more common in men. In order to compare women's and men's ability to read, at least looking at the situation in America of the past 30 years, we see that girls are better readers. Another important fact is, which is also interrelated with Antonia's presentation, where she was speaking about United Nations development goals. 2/3 of illiterate people in the world today are women. And if we look at the illiteracy indicators by region or country, 83% of illiterate people in the world are women. 57% of sub-Saharan Africa women are not able to read, whereas in Lithuania we have 100% of illiterate women. And if we look at the global library map, we see that the spectrum of illiteracy is really huge. In Somalia, we see just 4% of women able to read and write. If we have a look at gender parity indexes in men and women, by parity, I mean equality, and in this case, we have women's literacy divided by men's, and we get the result. So the gray area on the slide is between 0.97 and 1.3. Here again, we see the same regions: North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southern Asia. Why in today's world we see such a high level of women's illiteracy? Probably we should look for answers in social factors. And here, the feminism prospect is probably the most essential.
tarp moterų skaitime, galbūt būtent lytis ir šitos lyties pozicija sociume gali turėti tam įtakos.
I believe that the gender's position
istorinis palikimas,
in the socium may be quite
tarp moterų laikytas
important.
Laiko švaistimu, aukštesniuose ekonominėse sluoksniuose
In the
vidurinioji
past,
klasė,
we know that reading was often regarded as the waste of time and
laisvamaniška, tokiai moteriai būdinga seksualinė laisvė, tai moteris, kuri gali kelti riziką savo
sometimes
šeimai,
reading women were considered to cause some risk to the family
moteris, kuri turi savo nuomonę, religijos,
because
politikos
reading
atžvilgiu
was feared to be
nebijo jos
promoting
reikšti.
women's psychological, imaginative, and
grėsmė
sexual
status
liberties
quo, patriarchato status quo.
in
Ir tokios
patriarchal
moterys buvo
society.
gniuždomos, jos buvo
It was related
slopinamos.
to some threats.
Kaip šitas požiūris į skaitančias moteris keitėsi.
How the attitude was
Trys
changing.
pagrindiniai istoriniai faktoriai.
Three main historical
Gutenbergo
factors:
spaudos išradimas, reformacija
including
ir industrinė revoliucija.
Industrial
Manoma, jog tai
Revolution,
pagrindiniai faktoriai, kurie padėjo pagrindą šiuolaikiniai
which is believed to be
visuotiniam moterų raštingumui.
the factors related to
Moterų
women's
skaitymo klubo
literacy.
fenomenas Lietuvoje gal nėra itin paplitęs, tačiau
We don't
Vakarų Europoje,
have
Amerikoje,
women's
Didžiojoje
reading
Britanijoje
club
moterų skaitymo klubai
phenomenon
yra,
widely
itin
spread in
populiarus
Lithuania,
kultūrinis reiškinys, įvairios
whereas in
asociacijos,
some Western countries
rajonai, kaimynystės,
it is quite popular,
organizacijos turi
really.
moterų skaitymo klubus. Statistika vien tik Jungtinėse valstijose rodo, jog
Just in the United States of America,
registruota pusę milijono
there is
skaitytojų
about
klubų,
500,000
iš kurių
readers
90% yra
club
vien tik moterų skaitytojų
clubs
klubai.
where women
20-ame amžiuje kūrėsi ir sėkmingai tebeveikia
constitute
moterų
90% of
literatūros
readers.
leidyklos, specializuoti knygynai,
Women's
skaitymas
literature
ir rašymas
publishing
tapo
houses
moterų verslo
have
modelis sėkmingu.
become
Ir skaidrėje matote
really
tris žinomas
popular.
sėkmingas
And here
moteris.
on the slide
Oprah
you see
Winfrey, Sarah Jessica Parker
Oprah
ir
Winfrey,
Reese
Sarah
Witherspoon,
Jessica Parker, and
kurios
Reese
šalia
Witherspoon,
kitų verslo
who
idėjų, kurios
next
sėkmingai
to
realizavo,
other
vienas
business
iš pamatinių,
ideas,
tarkime, Oprah Winfrey verslo modelių
implemented
aplink knygų
some very
leidybą,
important
prodiusavimą, filmų kūrybą.
spheres
Tas pats liečia ir Reese
related
Witherspoon,
to
tai naujausia šiuolaikinė skaitimo
literature publishing,
globėja, virtualių skaitimo klubų globėja. Jos
Reese Witherspoon is a big supporter of
autorių literatūrą.
e-reading these days,
Turbūt nemažai jūsų ir matėte
and many of
paskutinių
you
metų
have probably
žymius
seen
didžiojo ir mažojo ekrano bestsellerius, kurie
some
buvo
bestsellers
sukurti Reese Witherspoon,
recently created by
ekranizuojant
Reese
žymių,
Witherspoon,
moterų rašytojų kūrinius.
based on well-known
Čia skaidrėje matome dvi eilutes,
literature
vien tik
works
knygų viršeliai.
of women.
Sakoma, nespręskite
Here you
apie
see
knygą iš šios viršelio, tačiau
a number of book
negalioja
covers,
tuomet, kai mes kalbame apie vyrų ir moterų literatūrą. Nesunkiai galite
and it is not
nuspėti, kuri
probably
eilutė viršutinė ar
hard
apatinė yra
to
vyrų arba
tell
moterų
which line
autorių
of
kūriniai.
books
Taip, tai
represent
viršutinė eilutė. Ir
men's
ne viena rašytoja
and women's
skundžiasi
books.
apie tai, kai
Many
kalba
writers
su leidėjais ir mato
are
pirmuosius
complaining
motyvus savo kūrinių, taip tai mato moteriškas
that
spalvas, ir tai yra
very often they tend
šriftai,
to see
paveikslai, iliustracijos, kurios iš karto
illustrations,
signalizuoja skaitytojui. Tai yra moteriška
colors
literatūra.
typical of women's
O visa kita
literature,
tai yra rimta, solidi literatūra.
which is not considered
Jeigu mane
quite
girdite.
Virginios Woolf,
quite
viena
serious.
iš dar 29
Virginia Woolf's
metais išsakytų citatų apie tai, kaip
quotation
kritikai vertina
about
literatūrą.
how
Rimta
critics
literatūra
view literature, whether
kalba
it's
apie
serious or
viešus
not.
interesus.
This is
Visa
an
kita
important book, the
bulvarinė,
critic assumes, because it deals with
populiarioji
war.
literatūra kalba apie
This is an
moterų
insignificant book because it deals
Ir
with the
čia
feelings
toks
of women in a
įdomus
drawing
irgi
room.
skaidrėje palyginimas,
And this is a
kaip
very
keitėsi,
interesting
New York Times,
comparison as
populiariausių
how
autorių
dynamics of writers was changing. We see that women are nearly overtaking men, and we believe that this gender parity will become more fair. A research by the book review website Goodreads, including 40,000 respondents, showed that women are rather tolerantic. They buy both men's and women's writers' books. However, men tend to choose literature written by men, namely. Reading and writing is like politics. Svetlana Alexievich, the Nobel Prize winner for literature, was intentionally trying to avoid engagement in politics. However, quite recently she could not help and got involved in the events in Belarus, and she is surprised how educated women who are leading the current revolution, the political movement, play such an important role. The Prime Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, is very keen on reading, and these are just a few photos which Nicola Sturgeon was sharing. She is asking her followers on social media what they think about the books, what they could recommend, and it's very interesting to read some of the comments. Some of people compliment Nicola Sturgeon because of her love for books, whereas the others mostly men are repeating the opinion which was typical in the 16th century. You should work more and read less. This illustrates that the reading woman used to be viewed in a strange way. It is all extremely interesting, but we should sum up now because we are running out of time. Okay, thank you, Lucas. So, just as a conclusion, to think how far we have gone and how privileged Lithuanian readers are. We had the picture of reading women on 5 litas banknote, and for comparison, the picture of Afghanistan in 1990, a secret women's school, where women pretended they are coming together to sew, were studying literature and sharing their views. That was their protest against the unfair restrictions. And just to sum up, I would like to underline that it is very important to have a really attentive look at women's readership. And my research also found that it is mainly women who like to read, who are coming to libraries, because library is a catalyst for women's empowerment, education, development, and growth in societies. This is why we should do our best to fill in the gaps related to women and their contribution in politics and economy. And my proposal is that maybe it would be worthwhile calling Lithuanian Librarians Association just Librarians Society. I'm sorry for taking too much time, and I will be looking forward to a productive conference. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was very interesting to listen to you. It's a pity I couldn't see the faces. Well, actually, we could see just a screen with you in front of us, and it was extremely interesting. Thank you to all who have been carefully listening. And let us continue after the coffee break at 12:20. In 20 minutes. See you then.
Sveiki sugrįžę į antrąją konferencijos dalį. Dar kartą ačiū Inetai, matau, kad jinai pakūrė mūsų chato laukelėje diskusiją, Facebook'o tiesioginėje transliacijoje, matau, diskutuojama.
Let's return back to the conference. Let's resume presentations. And let's move forward. Associated Professor Dr. Vincas Grigas, Faculty of Communication of Vilnius University. Book piracy also has a positive side. What is the opinion of readers, authors, and publishers? Hello, Vincas. Do you hear me? We can see you, we can hear you. So we look forward to hear your presentation. Thank you. So can you see now the slides? Yeah, perfectly well. Thank you for inviting me to speak about the subject about book piracy. And when we speak about this subject, we highlight this negative aspect. But after performing this study, together with my colleague, we tried to search for a positive side of this phenomena. I do not want to say that piracy is a positive phenomena, but maybe we can search for some positive elements. And I will share my experience, what we discern good or positive in this phenomena. Well, several examples from my personal experience from our participants of our research, respondents. So Christmas Eve, I told somebody during Christmas Eve I wanted to share my experience, that this is a perfect opportunity to read books without using the phone and computer. So what was the response? One of my aunts said, "Okay, I know that Kindle, you can see books via Kindle, so this aspect prevails, that what you cannot touch, what is virtual, you can read free of charge." So this is, evening with the friends. Now speaking about, not about the books, about piracy. My friends know that I am negative toward piracy. And they say, yeah, we know that you are criticizing pirates. And we have subscribed the film. And the respondents of the study highlighted that we do not always know that we are involved in piracy. We ourselves are involved in piracy, because sometimes it is very complicated without the knowledge, without relevant knowledge, that is to be aware that this is not legal or legal. So people who participated in our study, so the website, they bought the possibility to watch films. It seemed to be prepared professionally. They paid the money. They used their credit cards. But actually, they simply supported pirate website, and they were very much astonished when I explained the situation. My former personal experience, my first PC, everything was illegal, both the software, hardware, music, films, everything was illegal. And we will speak afterwards. I will try to answer the question why. Maybe I will manage to somehow touch the essence of the problem. We tried to look into different perspectives. Well, when we speak about media piracy, we highlight the attitude of the publishers, highlighting that piracy is evil, is evil, is evil. But my experience shows another perspective, different perspective. So therefore, we try to analyze the opinion from three angles, from three perspectives. The reader, the authors, and publishers. So for us, it was quite interesting to compare the target groups, the connected target groups, and their opinion about piracy. So a little bit about the context, the framework. So the idea of the research. Why did we decide to start study? Because piracy is quite a prevalent phenomenon in Lithuania, in post-Soviet Lithuania. So according to the data of 2016, sharing the website, sharing information, media sharing information. So the countries, Lithuania, Latvia, Bulgaria. 2019, the data of 2019. Our young people, a new Z generation, we think that they are not involved in piracy, that a new generation will be better. No, the survey demonstrated that this is not the situation. And we are the first among the young people to involve in piracy in Europe. Why did we think that this phenomena is not only negative, evil? So the third point. It was defined that the ones using illegal books, they acquire or purchase more books published legally, or they buy many more books. So a very interesting aspect of the research accomplished in 2018. So the reasons and consequences. And during this presentation, I will speak about one aspect we try to analyze in more detail. So the positive aspects. A little bit of a historic context. Eastern Prussia. So you see the map of the Eastern Prussia, the current Kaliningrad region, and a little bit of Klaipėda. Books printed illegally, disseminated illegally, brought to the Lithuania. So in essence, we can say that it was an illegal dissemination or piracy, book piracy. And book smuggling, we can even say that book smuggling or book carrying in the 19th century. But we have to acknowledge the fact that we did have book smugglers, book carriers who did a huge job, but they have created a huge network, a big network of illegally disseminated books. Among them, Jurgis Bielinis, the main book carrier. We try to illegally disseminate the books in order to maintain, to preserve the language. Now, stealing culture. During the Soviet times, several quotes. The state takes from people everything. So people tried to steal whatever they could from the state. And during the Soviet regime, it was kind of restoration of social justice if people used to steal from the state. Quite a controversial issue. So you see the picture, and the people in the picture steal radiators from the plant. Not necessary, absolutely unnecessary items. Now, respondents of the research quote, "Only thanks to piracy, Lithuania has become independent from the impact of Western culture." Another aspect, in 2004, UNESCO evaluated book smuggling as a unique phenomenon in the 19th century. Maybe in the future, the use of illegal media content will also be acknowledged as an important phenomenon which helped to Westernize Lithuania, if I may say that. Now, a few examples on, is it difficult not to steal? So after we analyze the data of the research, in order to legally use the content, you has to be a motivated person. You have not to be a lazybones. And what we have here, I provide 6 media types, books, different publishers, different suppliers, delivery, quite a lot of time for delivery, quite expensive. All our respondents were heavy readers, but some of them said that, well, I cannot afford to read all the books I want. Music, a more favorable situation, different suppliers, but not as many as in the case of books. It is enough to purchase Spotify, and that's it. Films, different suppliers. Again, we don't have centralized suppliers. TV, games, learning curricula, people who is involved in intellectual activity, he needs books, TV, music, content. He needs, or she needs, quite a lot of connections, quite a lot of, and pay for each connection. Can we afford that? For example, if a person is motivated, and according to the research, people are sometimes even irritated. Even sometimes they are inclined to read books legally, they're irritated by other things, and I will talk about that a little bit later. Now, methodology. The attitude of different target groups. Qualitative research, semi-structured, anonymous interview, and we could see that information was repetitive and repeated. Every 9th or 10th responded. So therefore, we just stopped interviewing the people. The results showed that it's enough what we had. It was enough. So, what is the opinion of our readers? So, 4 categories. The majority would say, yes, they try to save money. This is a positive aspect when speaking about piracy. The readers actually highlighted a more simple more simplified procedure. Well, in a certain way, this is they could save efforts, they could save time, but not money, as they thought. So different publishers, suppliers, many connections. These are not the factors determining a simple access to sources. Another aspect, they save money. Respondents save money. But they also said that they read more, because if they didn't have this access, they could choose other medias. Possibilities to illegally buy books, they could. They said that if they didn't have this possibility, they could they could watch TV, for example. Now, another aspect. Now, in terms of visibility, notoriety. For some people, the piece of the book seems, for example, might seem interesting, and for others might not be interesting at all. So the quote, piracy might encourage search for new ways of getting in touch or getting access to information. So piracy is kind of a measure or tool to press the publishers to invest into more favorable access forms. For example, similarly to as is the situation in music. One access, $7, and you can listen to all possible music. And this is a huge gap in Lithuania in terms of music. So what do the authors think? What is their opinion? They agree with the readers, and their categories practically are the same. According to the frequency of respondents' responses, the authors did acknowledge that piracy is one of the ways to reach our readers. And when piracy is more positive than negative phenomena to become popular. And the majority of authors said that from book sales, only few authors can live, can survive. And the other authors have to work, have to be employed in other activities. They have to go to other activities, to get involved in other activities in order to support themselves, to survive, and to maintain their families. Another very important thing was highlighted by the authors. When the books are totally sold and the publisher does not see there is no purpose for the publisher to proceed with publishing, this author is accessible only in the libraries. There are no books of this or another author in bookstores. So only one channel, library, or getting engaged in piracy. So the reader has more access, so via piracy channel. What about the publishers? Their opinion is different. It differs from that of the authors and readers. They do acknowledge I would buy more authors if it would be more, if the access would be more easy. They also acknowledge that there is a wider choice of the books. The book archive, digital archive of the books. In the libraries, for example, there are less books available to the readers in the e-form, electronic form. According to the publishers, the readers save money. They also highlighted, the publishers highlighted moral satisfaction. According to some of them, the ones who use illegally disseminated books, for them it is an honor. They say it is a Lithuanian mentality. The ones who download piracy books, they feel as if, you know, they are more smart, higher than other people. Well-known foreign authors, Rowling, for example, and when readers manage to download piracy books, they say that, well, it's nothing bad, you know, I didn't do anything bad. They think that Rowling will, you know, her life will not become worse. So to download bestsellers of foreign authors in Lithuania is still referred to as a normal, more or less normal action. Information must be free. The publishers highlight this opinion. In terms of scientific literature, I have to admit myself that according to our respondents, science in Lithuania wouldn't be possible without illegally purchased articles, publications, because the library cannot afford to have all possible papers, publications, studies, researches in comparison to fiction. And the databases are also very, very expensive. We cannot subscribe all the databases we need or the scientific community needs. So therefore, we sometimes justify piracy, illegal use of publications in the academic sphere. How we try to change this phenomena? The scientists, when they publish their research, they want to disseminate, to spread the information more widely, and they do not expect to earn money from that. So therefore, the information is available to people, to wide society, and free information. Because today, the one who does not belong to the academic community has no access to certain information. No way. So the wide society cannot get access to the scientific information, especially during this pandemic period. Dear Vincers, a very interesting presentation, but you need to conclude. We lag behind. I'm very sorry. So discussion The readers and authors speak more positively about book piracy and publishers more negatively. What I would like to note that according to publishers, they do not publish some books because of piracy, and there is no agreement between publishers, readers, and authors. What could be done to analyze the piracy phenomena? Not why, but who are these pirates? This could be a kind of example on how to centralize the service. And now in terms of pricing, the readers are skeptical toward pricing because they think that it is not fair. And open access to scientific publications, also a very important issue. So all the three groups evaluate piracy as possibly useful, increasing visibility, notoriety of the authors. So that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, dear Vincas. People are saying that your presentation was really very interesting. Questions in the Facebook chat. You can connect and answer these questions. Thank you, Vincas, once again.
Probably next time we should have a 2-day conference to be able to answer all the questions. Now I'm glad to give the floor to Viktorija Mačiulytė, subject librarian, Vilnius University Library, chairperson of the Lithuanian Librarians Department of Vilnius University Library. And her topic is development of information literacy of students and young researchers through distance learning based on learning styles. Good afternoon, Victoria. We don't see your slides yet, but I hope we will see them. Yes, we can see them now. You have 20 minutes. Hello. Thank you for introducing me. My name is Viktorija Mačiulytė. I work in Vilnius University Library as a librarian, and in spring this year, I became the chairperson of the Lithuanian Librarians Association Department of Vilnius University. My presentation is about development of information literacy, and I will present to you the project implemented this year in Kaunas Vytautas Magnus University. It's the practical part of my master degree thesis, and the people who are engaged in remote learning usually use different material for developing the information literacy. Let me just first of all present to you some terms. One of them is the person who has skills of information literacy, who has the ability to recognize when the information is relevant. He knows how to find it, assess it, and efficiently use it. such a person also has learning skills. The information literacy elements are as follows: carrying out of search strategies, understanding of needs, assessment of information, quoting and authors' rights, copyrights, handling the information and its organization. These are all the elements that a person who has information literacy has. All these elements are relevant and they are related to the whole set of information literacy. Vilnius University Library offers 4 groups of skills, which is a model that gives 1 hour to 1.5 hours time frame for each model. However, in practice, it often happens that a workshop that covers all the 4 topics is ordered. And considering the practical experience, it has been decided to conduct an investigative research, which was conducted in autumn 2018. 53% of people studying in the Kaunas faculty, Vilnius University students, participated in have never participated in any training of information literacy. 60% of people were both engaged in studies and work. They mostly conducted research in universal systems of search, and this research also helped to see what way of presenting the material to people trying to get information literacy is most suitable. The choice of the way of learning, changing depending on the learning situations, is a process that goes without any breakages. The learning experience of David Kolb, which the illustration of which you see on the slide, shows that there are 4 main styles of students: accommodators, divergers, convergers, and assimilators. In 2011, the theory was supplemented by more styles, learning styles. And before the practical implementation of the project, the theoretical methodology was created. This methodology consists of 3 parts. Asynchronic communication form was chosen for it because this course is meant for those learning independently. Those who start studying the material, first of all, have to fill out the questionnaire, which helps them to see their strong and weak sides, and then they can choose the most suitable learning style and methods. Methodology provides for 5 themes, which are distributed based on the level of students' experience. The modern interactive means have been used for presenting the material, which is carried out in 3 ways: interactive, audio recordings, and bibliometric indicators. And publication is first of all meant for young researchers who are viewed as people who defended the doctoral thesis within the past 10 years. After the course, all the participants receive a certificate. In the end of the course, everyone is asked to fill out the questionnaire and the ones who assessed their information literacy as average before the course have indicated they have improved their information literacy, and now it reaches 7 to 10 points. All the learning process took either 1 to 4 hours or 1 to 7 days. And the course satisfaction is 4.48 out of 5. As for the conclusions, during the investigative research, it has been established that the respondents' need for information literacy development is high. They indicated that flexibility is preferable in the development of information literacy, so that people could choose the place and time of learning. And also the respondents indicated that a mixed way of remote learning is most acceptable. The analysis of learning styles of the students showed that discussions, group work, and brainstorm are the activities that appear to be suitable for each learning style. The methodology of the development of information literacy empower the students to choose learning activities based on the fixed learning style. And practical tasks respond to different learning styles as well. The analysis of the answers by the respondents suggests that the learning course has received a positive assessment. Over 65% of respondents would recommend it to their colleagues, and after learning the course material, the respondents have improved their information literacy and skills by more than 1.78 points in 10-point range. Thank you so much for your attention, and I will be glad to answer your questions, if any. Thank you for your presentation, Victoria. You have saved some of our time. Now I would like to ask people who are watching our conference, maybe you could also round up your presentation. What I would like to emphasize is that the project we had was a pilot project implemented in the Kaunas faculty of Vilnius University. This is why the number of respondents was limited, and the course was conducted in a remote manner, including 64 respondents studying in Kaunas faculty in May this year. And the length of studies was either up to 4 hours, or those who have chosen a wider course spent 1 to 7 days to cover the course. The general assessment of the course is highly positive. The respondents indicated their information literacy skills have improved. That could be a conclusion. Thank you. I have a more general question, if you don't mind, and I encourage our listeners also to post their questions. Speaking about the Lithuanian situation, do you think we have a sufficient amount of information literacy courses in Lithuania these days? Because I believe that one of the main functions of libraries is conducting information literacy courses. What is your opinion? Oh, yes, indeed. More and more libraries get involved in information literacy training now. And as you see from the investigative research and some other research, we can say that a big number of people have participated in this training. However, we haven't reached the biggest majority of people. Therefore, I believe it's really greatly beneficial that libraries are involved in information literacy courses. I was working on my master degree thesis for 2 years, and we could not envisage that we are going to have this pandemic situation this year. However, now we cannot be sure whether people will get used to remote learning so much as to continue that when the pandemic situation is over. Thank you so much to Viktorija Mačiulytė, Vilnius University Library. Thank you so much for your presentation. We have no more questions.
Ačiū Jums dar kartą, pamojuojam, kad tikrai matytumėte. Ir dabar turėsime pranešimą dar vieną anglų kalbą. To jau netrukus susijungsime. Matau, kad klausimų gaunu į chatą, tik tais jie kartais būna pavėluoti. Čia, pavyzdžiui, vienas klausimas apie autorinės teisės, kaip suprantu, buvo daktarui Vincui Grigui užduotas, tai mes jau jį paleidom. Turime ir kitų pranešėjų, tai norime judėti toliau. Dabar kalbės daktarė Anu Ojaranta iš Abo akademinio universiteto iš Suomijos. Jos pranešimas vadinsis Informacinis raštingumas ir reiškiniais grindžiamas mokymasis. Pagrindinių mokymo dalykų Suomijoje pavyzdys. Tai jeigu norite stebėti šį pranešimą su vertimu į lietuvių kalbą, tai turite likti Facebook'e, jeigu gerai sugaudau viską. Jeigu ne, jeigu norite originalo kalbą, tuomet galite per YouTube nuorodą žiūrėti. Tai bandau sveikintis su Anu. Hi, Anu, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Hi, saying hi from Vilnius, Lithuania. I just made a short presentation about you, the name of your presentation and where are you from. I think we can start with the presentation. You have 20 minutes, so let's hear from you, and then we might have some questions after your presentation. That's okay?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to share the slides, or do you have them?
Yes, share the slides, please. That would be the best. We can't see it yet, but I guess
Yes.
it's on the way. Is it working out for you?
Yes, wait just a minute.
Okay. And while we are waiting for all of you writing the questions in our Facebook chat or YouTube chat, please write the questions before the end of the presentation, because there's a small lag of about 1 minute between you and us, so I can ask the questions, just to see the questions in time. I see now the question for Victoria, but she's already logged off. And we can see the presentation. So, Anu, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Okay. Sorry for the slides, but here I am and the slides are visible. Good afternoon to all of you. I hope you have had a very nice morning and you had a very tasty lunch. I was asked here to come to tell you about the Finnish core curriculum and about phenomenon-based learning combined with information literacy, which is a part of my doctoral thesis and my research. I am living in Turku, Finland, and I got my doctoral degree last year. I have a teacher's degree and I also work as an entrepreneur. For the moment, I work as postdoctoral researcher and also in the regional agency for libraries. My research interests are in information literacy, for example, but also in other subjects. And for the postdoctoral research, this is now infodemia related to the coronavirus pandemic and how we use information in a pandemic and how do we differentiate fact from false information. Some facts about education in Finland. All education levels up to to gymnasium, they use core curriculum, even from early childhood education. The teachers have a very high educational standard. The second highest number of master level teachers in the world are in Finland. And all children have the right to attend the early education and preschool So also the preschool and early education are set in core curriculum. We have one of the highest PISA scores in the world, but in average shorter school days and relatively content pupils. But unfortunately, the PISA trend is downwards at the moment, especially when it comes to reading skills. The first core curriculum was drafted in 1967, and it was renewed. It has been renewed approximately every 10 years. And the current one was accepted in 2014, and the adjustment period for implementing went from 2016 to 2019. And all cities and municipalities do their own adaptation of the core curriculum, and also schools are allowed to do their own adaptation because of their special emphasis. The school might have an emphasis to science, to natural sciences, to social sciences, or sports. So they can do their own adaptations of the core curriculum. The new core curriculum brought us in Finland 2 major changes, and there were others as well, but 2 that are really critical when it comes to information literacy issues and working with information. To make it more clear, information literacy is a term which is not present in the core curriculum as a term, but there are a lot of issues that relate to information literacy activities. The core curriculum brought us transversal competencies, which means they are broad-based competencies. All of these 7 competencies are considered to be life skills, and they are implemented in all grades and in all subjects. So all these transversal competencies are breaking through the whole education in the core curriculum. Important for us is the thinking and learning to learn. This is something that is very tightly involved in information literacy. We have also cultural competencies, taking care of oneself, managing daily life. Multiliteracy is the second issue in the transversal competencies, which is very important when it comes to information literacy. Also, ICT competence. That within holds also issues relating to information literacy. The pupils are also taught issues relating to working life, competencies and entrepreneurship, as well as participation, involvement and building a sustainable future. So all these 7 areas should be considered in teaching, whether is it history, mathematics, chemistry, mother tongue, Finnish, Swedish, English language, or whichever school subject. This is very meaningful and important to remember when we go on with the presentation. The second issue that came up in the new core curriculum is integrative instruction. And it is commonly known as phenomenon-based learning. We all kind of understand that phenomenon-based learning is we are looking into a phenomenon, something that is important in our life, has an impact in our lives, and is meaningful to understand in the whole broad of society. Learning is considered to be learner-centered, so the student and the learning of the student is in the center of the method. The purpose is to educate the pupils to understand that all issues in our lives and in our society, they are complex and they have several perspectives. We can look at, for example, climate change from the perspective of geography, biology, social sciences, economics. So we need to understand that everything is connected to everything. And we need to look at these things broadly in order to understand the complexities in these phenomena. And also what is emphasized in the core curriculum is that learning is research-based. It is a kind of build of research-based modules. The pupils learn to study the issue from several subjects, and they do research. They need to come up with the research questions. They need to know how to present right questions. And they need to start digging up the answers and to combine it together so that they can really understand the phenomena they are looking into. So this is something that came with the new core curriculum, this phenomenon-based learning. It was shortly after announced that Finland is throwing away all the school books, and we are only going to phenomenon-based learning, but this is not true. Not all learning in Finnish schools is like this. The core curriculum actually states that the pupil has a right to one phenomenon-based learning module during a school year. So they need to at least do something that they need to do in this format. So they need to look into a phenomenon from different perspectives. And this is done differently with different people. Well, from earlier presentation as well, we saw issues relating to information literacy. We know that information literate person has to be able to determine the extent of information need. They need to have an access. They need to evaluate the information critically. They need to choose the right one, the necessary one, and incorporate it with their earlier knowledge. And they need to do all this in order to accomplish a specific purpose. It might be an information need. You have some information you don't know and you need to know. But it can also, the purpose can be your school work. It might also be an essay you need to write, a group work you need to do. And also you need to understand the economic, legal, and social issues surrounding the information and use it ethically and legally. This is very familiar to us in library branches, in library information science. When we turn this issue to phenomenon-based learning, we come to understand that phenomenon-based learning is based on constructivist learning philosophy. And when we think about constructivist learning philosophy, we see that the phenomenon has to be researched. We need to understand and learn by the result of the research that we are doing. We need to, purpose of the research is to construct information on top of the already existing knowledge. This is what learning is all about. We learn new things. We need to adjust it to our already existing structures. And this is the way we learn. Also, we sometimes know something about the issue that we need to look into, but we don't know all. And we have to bridge the gap. For example, in sense-making theory of Brenda Derwin, we need to bridge the gap of information knowledge that we are missing. actually to get into the learning of new things. And this is what this is all about. It is very tightly bound together with information seeking, because we also need to teach the students the tools that they can do the research with. One of the things in phenomenon-based learning, it has also a lot of similarities with guided inquiry design, which is a method created by Carol Coulthard and her daughters. It emphasizes that the meaning is also for the pupil to find joy in finding out and in learning new things. And one of the starting points is that the pupil themselves come up with the issue they want to do research about. This also elevates their motivation to do the work and to really find out what they need to find out. But when we are working with children in this way, that we need to encourage the students to be self-directed learners. This is also one aspect in the new core curriculum, that we need to support the students of being self-directed, they can think for themselves, do decisions themselves, and decide on which perspective or angle they want to take into the subject. Of course, this doesn't mean that when they need to do research in biology, they can't all the time do specific presentations of their pets and so on. But the teacher is allowed to direct the students in the area of the subject, and the students themselves then can decide their angle or their corner of the research. But all we do need to understand that all this needs instruction. The smaller the students are, the more instruction and guidance they need. So we need to be able to provide the pupils skills to be able to be self-directed, and information seeking skills, critical thinking, multiliteracy, working with information is what information literacy and information science people, librarians, do best. And I think that this is the message that I have, is that we need to work together with teachers and teaching faculty in order to give the pupils these skills that they can actually do the phenomenon-based learning in their best possible way. When we look at different models for information seeking and others, sorry, I seem to have one word there in Finnish, which is the third box, is called reading in the internet. So we have a model from Coulthard, Big Six, and internet reading. And in my thesis, I claim that all these models, and not only these three, but several models, have the same structure. The beginning has something to do with planning the information seeking process. We need to understand the information need. We need to understand where we can find information, come up with strategies. We need to formulate our research questions. Then we need to come to a stage which is called action. Then that is the phase where we do the information seeking. We locate the information, we access information, we critically evaluate information and collect the ones that we need. The last phase is reflection, and this is where we do the synthesis of the information we have found. We synthesize the information, we make it our own learning, we evaluate the learning, we communicate the learning to our friends and student and pupil friends, and we presented what we have learned. So my claim in my thesis is that we can find all these 3 steps in most of the information seeking descriptions. This comes to my findings in my doctoral dissertation is that we can see on the left-hand side the planning, activity, and reflection sections in my material. Core curriculum 2004, 2014 were compared, and I also interviewed teachers and school librarians. We can here see that in 2004 curriculum was mostly emphasizing the activity, which is information seeking and searching and being critical. But the new core curriculum, 2014, is clearly emphasizing the reflection. So this means that the new curriculum is emphasizing what we do with the found information, how we make it our learning, how we can construct new information and new knowledge of the information that we have found. We have a lot of studies that show that the students are quite capable of finding single facts quite fast in the internet, but they don't know what to do with the information. Teachers were emphasizing the planning phases a lot because of the reading skills, and we see the emphasis of librarians had in the activity section, information searching and being critical. And this is relating this research result is very similar to at least 3 other studies where we see that teachers in the whole process of information seeking, searching, which also can be understood at information literacy phases, we concentrate to the middle part and very little on reflection. So librarians' field doesn't seem to be the last one which would teach pupils and students to learn what to do with the found information. A lot of the ones who I interviewed, they also signify that that is something that they leave for the teacher. But for the last part, I would like to emphasize about the future that the core curriculum has a very good starting point and philosophy regarding information literacy. And libraries would greatly benefit from learning the core curriculum. What does it say? And we, in order to be able to provide the useful information, the support for the teacher in the right way would also be beneficial for the learning as whole. And I also believe very strongly that the collaboration would benefit all parties and also strengthen the collaboration between teachers and librarians. And then I want to thank you, and if you have any questions, so please present the questions to me.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you for your presentation. It was interesting to hear about phenomenon-based learning. I maybe have only one question for you. You mentioned that you usually, on this phenomenon-based learning, you take complex issues, and you mentioned climate change. Could you give us any other examples of the issues that students have to tackle?
One thing, for example, Finland had 100 years birthday in 2017. And during that year, a lot of schools did this phenomenon-based units in connection to Finnish history, Finnish economy, Finnish landscapes and stuff relating to Finnish culture. They were doing the Finnish food in the cooking classes and so on. One of the issues could be that, for example, there is an election coming up now in Finland, the municipality level elections in the springtime. You could, for example, take now when it's a COVID crisis, take up, for example, the mis or disinformation, what is around, how has it been in the past, how we had these problems before, what are the channels, how can we, do we find out something about the how these messages are written, what does the language or the presentation of the text tell us. So there's a lot of possibilities. It is only to come up with the issues that are relevant and daily, up to the daily task. Also, a lot of teachers said that they have done this kind of teaching all the time. So this might be that it is not actually new at all. It might be very, very kind of a thing that they are used to. So one say that nothing has learned, some say that a lot has learned because of the new curriculum. Depends on the person.
Yes. Thank you, Anu. Now further questions for you. We have some compliments in the chat, so thank you very much. Almost 400 attendees were watching your presentation, so thank you very much and best wishes to Finland.
Thank you so much and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Tai ačiū dar kartą Anu iš Abo akademijos universiteto iš Suomijos ir dabar turime paskutinį pranešimą prieš pietų pertrauką, po kurios beje turėsime diskusiją dar kartą primenu. Tai netrukus jungsimės ir girdėsime
Shortly, we are going to hear Dr. Rima Cicėnienė, who will deliver a presentation prepared together with Dr. Sigitas Narbutas, a glance at the activities of the Wroblewski Library of the Lithuanian Academy of Sciences in the course of time, developments and prospects. Good afternoon, Rima.
Sveiki, Rima, ar mane girdite?
Hello, good afternoon.
Sveiki, čia esat.
Sakykite, ar matosi skaidrės?
Taip, matosi.
Do you see my slides?
Ekraną,
Yes, we do. Everything is working. Just a moment.
Ir visą ekraną. Taip. Na, ko tai?
Aha, ten kairėje viršuje. Taip.
Good afternoon, colleagues. The presentations that we have heard in this conference and the issues witness of a very important shift in the activities of our libraries today. But in my presentation, I would like to have a look at one specific library. When my colleagues asked me to tell you about the changes in the libraries in the course of 20 years, I thought, how many changes have we had? And indeed, I have collected a lot of material about the changes. But today, I am going to speak only about the key changes. In the beginning, I will speak about the biggest changes in the library itself, how its structure, collections, activities have changed. Many of my colleagues will probably recognize the changes in their own institutions, whereas in the second part of my presentation, I'm going to focus on the prospects, based on which we will hear about the idea to renew the library. You can best feel the changes when you look at them from the time perspective. What kind of library do you remember? Many of us still remember the Central Library of the Academy of Sciences. My colleague Sigitas first visited the library in 1983, 1984, after the capital repairs, and it already had the new building of storage built in 1974. I myself got to know the library in 1988, 1989, when, as a student of the Faculty of History of Vilnius University, I got a permission to work in it. The library was a semi-closed institution that had excellent collections and a canteen. In the beginning of the 21st century, the library is more modern compared to those times. There have been changes in its structure, collections, and of course the information technologies were started to be implemented. Another important change was that the scientific library became open to society, and it was not only the representatives of the Academy of Science system, researchers, but also all Lithuanian citizens from 16 years of age, as well as foreign nationals, institutions, and organizations have got the right to use the library. The library got back the name of Wróblewski. A new logotype was created that can be easily recognized both in Lithuania and abroad. The recent discussions have encouraged reorganization of the library activities. The organizational structure was revised, focusing on the new trends of library activities, and a new scientific council of the library was established. Today, we have as many as 14 divisions in the library. During the recent period, we have had a major change in qualification of our specialists. The activities and the scale of activities have also changed a lot. We have realized that we don't need so many specialists working in the library itself. However, we also clearly feel the need for specialists who would very well know the information resources, able to assess, analyze, and systematize them. Finding professional specialists is a challenge, and all that encouraged the library to start closer cooperation with Vilnius University. The library has become a social partner of Communication and History faculty of Vilnius University. There have been also changes in the collections of the scientific library. And the scientific reform, which was conducted in several stages, also had a big impact on its scale and the spectrum of services provided. In the context of all these processes and approaching renovation, a number of researches have been made, and our collection has significantly decreased in physical means. Printed scientific publications were partly refused, and instead a shift to electronic means occurred. These processes see a very clear shift in the mechanism of collection formation. However, one threat I would like to mention is access to the resources acquired, which is not long-term. In the databases that are being created, we accumulate authentic, original scientific data and systematized information, which becomes extremely valuable part of the library collection. In the beginning of the 21st century, some of the activities the library started were innovative. However, today we wouldn't be able to imagine the activities without them. And first of all, I would like to mention digitalization. Many documents have been digitalized and now accessible in eHeritage and Europeana portal. The scientific activities have been reinforced in the past several decades. And first of all, the research activities have been included in the new bylaws of the library activity back in 2009. 3 scientific activity fields have been defined, which is printed material heritage, science history, and scientometrics. Here you can see some workshops, as well as the reading room of open collection. The results of the research conducted have become visible in the scientific community, and based on them, we have started creating new products and offering new services. Retrospective systematization of Lithuanian printed material is a new activity that we are carrying out at the moment. Speaking about the recent decade in terms of scientific activity, the innovation that we have started this year in cooperation with the National Library of Lithuania was to present our scientific production for Scientific Council's annual assessment. One more type of activity that I would like to mention is the dissemination and communication of research that has moved from physical space to digital space, and traditional exhibitions being followed by lectures, meetings that are being filmed and shown on social media. An exceptional peculiarity of scientific research and dissemination is that the processes are based on scientific activity. Its results are being used for further research, and a few other changes I would like to refer to is that the library today is offering new services to researchers, and that international cooperation with foreign countries' institutions have been started. The information resource collection is comprised from collections that are stored in physical space and the collections that are accessed by digital means. It all resulted to the increasing number of virtual visits online. The multidimensional library space model by the Finnish researcher Pentti Mehtonen, comprising 3 spheres, physical, social, and digital spaces, is very suitable to characterize the activities of our library. The implementation of such a model have become extremely important in implementing one of the main tasks of this period, which is the reconstruction of Wróblewski Library. Preparatory activities have been already started, and while preparing for the reconstruction, we have taken into account several aspects. The global trends of library activities, because in the past 20 years, the libraries have been transforming to an open institution that offers access to the world resource network. We have taken into account the behavioral patterns of our researchers. We have also noticed that in the public spaces that have been initially meant for inclusive work, these working places have become extremely popular these days. The buildings of the library in the old town of the city are in highly protected area, and one of them is the Monument of Culture. This is why we couldn't really choose the shape and other aspects related to the physical building. The reconstruction of the library started back in 2012, and 1 year later, the technical project of capital repairs and the building of book storage was drawn. The reconstruction of storage started in autumn 2016. Some archaeological site investigation were made, and in 2022, we are planning to start the capital repairs of the main building of the library. The old building will be repaired in stages, and all the works are planned to be completed by 2028. The period between 2020 and 2022 is the period of transfer of the cultural heritage to the reconstructed storage. And it seems that we will adapt the remote work experience for a number of our staff members. Speaking about the physical structure changes, I can mention that the main entrance will be transferred to the building of the storage. From there, people will be able to get to the main building of the library as well as the reading rooms. We will have modern lifts and staircases also adapted to people with disabilities. The old building will become the workplace of readers as well as staff members, and present entrance will remain just representative. Rima, if you don't mind, we would like to hear your conclusions now. We are running out of time. We are going to change some floors and have what we call bibliopolis. And in conclusion, I can say that we are also working on the renewal of the digital library collection. And looking into the future, we are focusing on the challenge how to strike the balance and preservation of our collections for the future generations. Thank you so much, Rima. Compliments from our listeners. Also, thank you so much. It was very interesting to hear about the latest developments of the Wróblewski Library in Lithuania. The presentation was prepared together with Sigitas Narbutas. At the same time, I would like to thank you all for participating in our today's conference. After the lunch, we are going to have a discussion, and this is why I ask everyone to remain with us. Thank you to all the presenters as well as the interpreters. Let's have our lunch break now and see you later in the afternoon. Enjoy your lunch.